Glad you tuned in today. I'm Susie Larson. This is Live the Promise. It is our favorite guest. Ron Rhodes is on once a month for Bible Answers with Ron Rhodes. We're taking your questions. Remember, no question is ridiculous. If you've got a question about end times, about something out of Scripture, we want to help you answer it today, okay? 877-933-2484. Bob's on hold. So grateful for your patience, Bob, calling in from Grafton, North Dakota. Bob, you're on the air with Ron Rhodes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Susie. Thank you, Dr. Ron, for taking calls. I really appreciate this. I wanted to see if you would discuss the end-time kingdoms of the end times. It's interesting in the book of Daniel, he describes the beast, but they're separate. The bear, and I think, God uses animal symbols to describe nations. So he sees the bear, the four-headed leopard, the lion, and the eagle coming out of the lion, and he continues to watch, and the eagle's wings are plucked from the lion. Well, the bear is Russia. The leopard is a symbol for Germany, and the four-headed, I think, could be the first, second, third, and coming Fourth Reich of Germany. And then the lion has always been Great Britain. And isn't it interesting that the United States, the eagle, we came from Great Britain when we separated, from Great Britain. And then in John or Revelation, isn't it, where it's the same description is given, only they're joined together. It's described as having the feet of the bear and, and so on and so forth. And you put these together and you look at the times that we're living in with, this push for the one world government, that's going on. I just think it's very interesting and uncanny. And I thank the Lord for all his prophets and wisdom that he's given us. And I just wondered if you could speak about that.
Bob, thanks for that call. What do you say, Ron?
Well, there's a couple of things I would point out. I think that I would probably begin on just making note of the alignment of nations that are presently taking place that relate to the Ezekiel invasion. And I'm referring to the fact that Ezekiel 38 and 39 say that one day there's going to be an invasion launched against Israel involving Rosh, Magog, Meshech and Tubal, Persia, Ethiopia, Put, Gomer, Beth Togarmah. Those are ancient words, aren't they, Susie? I mean, most people don't, pay much attention to those kind of words, but, the scriptures, I think, do go on to define what those words mean. And as we look at history and archaeology, it becomes pretty clear what these nations are. For example, Persia is modern-day Iran. And, in fact, Persia became Iran back in 1935. Ethiopia refers to the territory south of Egypt, what is now known as the Sudan. Put is a land to the west of Egypt. It's modern-day Libya. Gomer is part of modern-day Turkey. Beth Togarmah is also part of modern-day Turkey. Magog refers to all those nations near the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. I'm talking about all the Stan nations, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Turkmenistan, and all the other Stan nations. And then there's Rosh, which many conservative scholars believe is a reference to Russia. Isn't it interesting that back when Ezekiel wrote this prophecy, nobody knew what these different nations would have in common because these different nations are not right next to each other. But now we know, don't we? All of these nations that we mentioned, with the exception of Russia, are Islamic. And today, Muslims want to wipe Israel off the map. They want to push Israel into the sea, as it were. And what's very interesting, I'm not sure how much you studied recent history, Susie, but there's a strong precedent of Russia working with Muslim countries against Israel. Happened back in 1967 during the Six-Day War. And the Russians were poised to attack Israel and was about to move against Israel when President Johnson ordered the U.S. Sixth Fleet to steam toward Israel, and that's when the Russians backed down. You might remember in 1973, again, you found aggression against Israel from Egypt and Syria. Guess who provided the weapons and the intelligence? It was Russia. And it's interesting that Brezhnev told the United States to stay out of it, but Nixon fired back and said, if you get involved in this, there will be incalculable consequences, and again, Russia backed down. Same thing in 1982. A large storage facility of pre-positioned weapons were discovered by Menachem Begin, and these were pre-positioned by the Russians to be used by Muslim armies invading into Israel. Now, Susie, this is a long answer to a short question, but I just wanted to set the context for you in that it seems like the stage is being set for that future Ezekiel invasion into Israel.
And this time,
and so I think that's pretty significant.
No, I love that you took some time to give us context. And what's so concerning is this time you wonder if we'll stand up when Israel's being threatened, because it's a different climate right now.
Well, it is a different climate. You know, one of the things that is very clear from the Ezekiel passage is that when Israel is invaded, Israel will stand alone. And that's kind of disconcerting to me personally, because in the past, you know, I think that the United States has been a very strong ally of Israel. But it seems like in recent days that there's been sort of a turnabout on that. And it seems like Israel has become a sore spot to the entire world. But then again, didn't Zechariah tell us that that's the way it would be?
Yeah.
Did not he say that Israel would be a stumbling stone to the entire planet in the end times? And that's exactly what we see happening today. And when these nations ultimately do invade Israel, it will be God himself that will deliver Israel. And I need to tell you also that this sets the stage for the other stuff that's going to happen in the tribulation period, because just think about it, Susie. Who were the two main people groups that would resist a false religion under the Antichrist? Well, the Muslims for sure, and Christians as well.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if Christians get raptured before this tribulation period begins, and if God destroys the Muslim invaders into Israel prior to that time, then that basically removes the two primary people groups that would resist the emergence of a one-world religion under the leadership of the Antichrist. And so to me, it kind of greases the skids for what is yet to come. It makes things a lot easier for the Antichrist to do what he wants to do in terms of bringing about a new false religion. So to me, Susie, it's all related. It's all interconnected.
What times we live in, and you being a student of prophecy, I can imagine that you're watching this unfold before your very eyes. There's so much I want to ask you. Lily May, checking in from Montpelier. Am I saying that right?
Montpelier.
Yes, thank you for calling. We literally have to take a break in about a minute, a little over a minute, so I'm going to have you get your question in. And, Ron, you might want a quick, short answer and then carry it through on the other side if you've got more to say. But go ahead with your question, Lily May.
It's just about 2 weeks ago since what the secular system called supermoon, but I thought it looked like a blood moon, and the eclipse, which was very quick, I thought, to my and just to the north of it was what looked like a comet. I don't know what it was, but a bright streak with a white tail at the same time that the eclipse of the moon. I wondered what you made of that. I thought of Jesus coming as lightning and the darkness over the church.
Well, those are great questions, and a lot of people thought that at the recent blood moon, the end of the world was going to come. But I'll tell you more about that as soon as we get back from this break, okay?
And Ron is a radio professional, I'm just saying. That was brilliant, Ron. When we come back, Ron will comment on the recent blood moon, and if you've got questions about that or other things regarding end times, prophecy, what's going on in the news today, how it relates to Scripture, give us a call, 877-933-2484. 877-93-FAITH or Susie at myfaithradio.com. More with Dr. Ron Rhodes in a moment. Tuning in today, I'm Susie Larson. This is Live the Promise. So glad to talk to Dr. Ron Rhodes. We get him on every month for Bible Answers with Ron Rhodes, and I hear from you. He's like your favorite guest, so it's so fun to have him on and to take your questions. So please feel free to call. Don't be embarrassed by your questions, but if you feel a little bit shy about your question, call in anonymously. That's totally okay. 877-933-2484. And Lily May asked before the break about the recent blood moons and what you had to say about that, Ron. Love to hear your thoughts.
Well, there were a number of recent blood moons in recent history. One was in April 15th, 2014, and then October 8th, 2014, May 4th, 2015, and most recently September 28th, 2015. And there was a lot of people thinking that maybe this heralded something like the end of the world, or maybe a major sign of the times. Some people were teaching that these blood moons always indicate something is going to happen in regard to Israel, but it's kind of ill-defined. They're not sure what's going to happen with Israel, but the blood moon always says something's about to happen. And they base their views on a couple of passages that refer to blood moons. For example, I'm thinking about Joel 2 verse 31, which makes reference to the moon turning to blood or turning red. And so a lot of these people suggest that God uses the heavens as his billboards to announce coming events, and therefore blood moons are a great way for God to speak prophetically to people. I have a little bit different view, Susie. I've got some good brothers and sisters who have put a lot of stock in this, and, I still love them and everything, but I just disagree with the whole idea. I think it's kind of a form of soft date setting, to say that as soon as this blood moon is going to happen, that automatically means that something must happen as related to Israel. And I really like for people to be cautious about this kind of stuff. Only because, there's, for example, the fact that some people might end up damaging their faith if they think that, for example, the Bible said that something was going to happen on a blood moon, and if nothing happens, are they going to stop believing in Bible prophecy? Well, some people have. Humanists and atheists like to watch Christians set dates, and talk about blood moons, and then they run articles in their magazines mocking Christians when expected events don't pan out. And I think today, as a result of a lot of the date setting that's gone on among people, I think that we've got sort of a spirit of prophetic agnosticism that has descended on the church. And that may be a word someone's not heard of. It just means that we can't know. We just can't know for sure. So a lot of people have no idea whether you can trust Bible prophecy or not as a result of all this date setting.
And maybe on a broader scale, just this needs to be said, I'm going to get to you, Miranda, calling in from Duluth in just a moment. But on even a broader scale, it seems whenever we get sensational and seek sensationalism or chase after signs instead of chasing after God, we lose our way, and we are mock worthy, if that is such a phrase, because it just seems like there's some part of the Christian faith sometimes. I mean, we live by faith, not by sight, but some of it's the daily grind. The most sacred thing you can do is get up, go to work, do a really good job at what you're doing, come home, love your spouse. You know what I'm saying? But sometimes you see people chasing and talking angels or talking, this thing and that thing, and it's a sensation-seeking kind of faith going from one adrenaline, experience to another. And that, to me, keeps you from getting grounded in your faith, I guess. And maybe you listening, maybe you have a different opinion about it. But do you know what I'm saying, where you seek God instead of the sign that you're looking for?
Well, I guess the way I look at it is that we really ought to be like the Bereans in Acts 17 and test all things against Scripture. No matter who says what, and this includes me and Susie, and no matter who says what, test it against the Scriptures and make sure that it's biblical. And when you do that, you'll find that there's not a single Bible verse anywhere that says blood moons will automatically prophesy some significant event for Israel. The Bible just doesn't say that. Now, having said that, let me say something good about these people. They're excited about the reality of Bible prophecy and that the Lord is coming. They're excited about the rapture, and I think that's good. That part I agree with. I think we need to return to that because there's a lot of people that have sort of lost their hope in the future, prophetic scenarios outlined in Scripture. So that part is good, but the part that you got to watch out for is not to fall for date setting, because, like I said, that can damage your faith. It can damage new believers' faith. It can turn into prophetic agnosticism. The humanists, have ammo against people. And also, let me just tell you this: people make decisions based on their interpretation of prophecy. I know of Christians personally who have actually stopped their work. They've quit their jobs, sold their houses, and used the money to go door to door talking to people about the coming into the world based upon, some of this kind of stuff we're talking about. And how do you think they felt when it didn't pan out? So all I'm saying is test it against Scripture and make sure that you only hold to what is actually in the Bible.
Good word. 877-933-2484. Miranda, thank you so much for your patience, and I look forward to your question for Ron today.